DNA evidence. Once clothing has been surrendered, the victim has nothing else to wear home but a hospital gown, only adding insult to the injury. Together with your help, we can provide victims with resources necessary to take the first step on the road to healing. So Lisa here is a nonprofit organization with a mission to ensure that every victim of a sexual crime who seeks medical attention or law enforcement involvement is provided with whatever new clothing, toiletries, snacks, and other items that he or she may require. As founder, Lisa has been guiding forces and visionary to the Grateful Garment Project. Lisa's unique combination of experience in nonprofit, customer service, law, and management produces the creative leadership required to bring the Grateful Garment Project to the state of California and beyond. So without further ado, welcome and thank you for being here.
Well, thank you very much. I'll sit down now. You guys know everything. Okay. So this, forgive this presentation, it's a work in progress. So it's a little longer than I'd like it to be, and so I may skip past things real quickly, a few things. Okay, so the Grateful Garment Project. Prior to me coming and them announcing that I was coming, had anybody ever heard of the Grateful Garment Project?
No.
So that's super sad and really a great opportunity, right? It's sad because we do this amazing thing every day that impacts substantial numbers of people. The resources that we provide on a daily basis help anywhere between 25 to 50 people every single day. Okay? So we're working with substantial numbers of people, and the average person doesn't even know that we exist or that there's a need. So what is the need? The need is sexual violence, okay? And beyond the cases of children being sexually abused and sexual assault, rape, okay? We also work with people, with agencies that work with people that have been victims of human sexual trafficking or commercially sexually exploited children that are being pimped out, okay? So unfortunately, we live in a rape culture. I mean, it's in the news a lot lately. It's been in the news for the past few years. Right now it's about Hollywood, but the reality is that sexual assault, it goes on all around us, all the time, and people typically are not talking about it, unfortunately. So in the description that was read, basically what we do is we're in the business of dignity. We help return dignity to those who've had it stolen through some form of sexual violence. Like she said, when somebody goes through a rape kit, like if somebody's sexually assaulted, and the reality is most people that are sexually violated never report it. It's estimated that only about 20-25% of people that are ever sexually violated report it. Of those people that do report it, many of them have the opportunity to undergo what we know of as a rape kit. It's actually a forensic exam called a SART exam. SART is an acronym which stands for Sexual Assault Response Team. And so when somebody goes through that process, they're asked to surrender all their clothing for DNA evidence, you know, just like they do on CSI or that kind of stuff. And if they give up all their clothes, what are they gonna wear home, right? Many places, if there are no clothes available, what they do is they provide them a hospital gown to wear home. Has anybody here ever worn a hospital gown? Okay, let's just be honest. They're not known for their sheltering properties. They're not even comfortable in the exam room. Could you imagine, even if you had them doubled over and back and forth, walking out of the hospital? Think about it. Somebody's just been through the most horrible thing they'll probably ever know in their life. And they're hurt, they're injured, they're fighting shame and fear and just all kinds of things. And then they go through an exam that's not a warm, fuzzy experience, but a necessary one to make sure that there's no injury and that their perpetrator's caught. And then you're given a hospital gown. It's kind of like adding insult to injury. And so That's no particular individual's fault. That's just a flaw in the system because there's not resources available to provide clothing. See, the state of California mandates that every single county in California have a SART facility or contract with one. But in this year's budget, the total amount of money made available to provide that is less than $2,000 annually per county. You know, and so there's just no money. I mean, most of these facilities run on duct tape and Band-Aid budgets. They're applying for grants, and the law enforcement is paying for part of the cost, and the county pays for part of the cost, and but it's just not built into the fact. So, I've talked about these things. Let's talk a little bit about the history. It was never my plan to start a nonprofit at all. I was going to Notre Dame Dina Moore, just right down the road from here in Belmont, and I was getting my degree in human services. I was going to become a psychologist. That was my plan. And for my degree track, instead of doing a internship like a lot of people do, we had what's known as a capstone project. And basically, I went out to the community and identified a need and designed a project around that need. Then executed the project for 5 weeks and then came back with the report and an oral defense of my project. It was almost kind of like a mini thesis, right? And so I'd heard about the need, how where I live down in San Jose, that at the SART facility there were not clothes available. Typically what was happening is a lot of times the nurses and the advocates and the counselors and the doctors were buying clothes out of their own pocket. Kind of like the way teachers buy school supplies, right? And so I decided that that would be a great project for me to do for my capstone project. I would set up a clothing closet for the facility. And to be quite honest, I had no idea the vein of need that I was hitting at that time. I just was trying to graduate. And I went and I rang the buzzer and they let me in, and I just started talking to them until they continued to talk to them until they finally agreed to let me work with them. And so on March 1st, 2011, I implemented my class project. By about the third week of that project, I had more than doubled the original goals, and I was approached by the people who run the facilities for Santa Cruz County, who began to beseech me to come and help them there. They had even fewer resources available. And at that point, this was already written on my heart. Like, I already knew I was going to continue to do this beyond my project. Because like you guys, I've always been a volunteer, and for someone who gets involved, I've always done community service. And so I figured I would just continue doing this. And it just kind of blew up from there. In order to be able to do the agencies in Santa Clara County and Santa Cruz County, I decided to incorporate it as a nonprofit. I learned how to do it in school. I took my textbooks and started a nonprofit corporation. I filled out the paperwork for California, sent it off. 1 week later, they sent me back a California nonprofit. Filled out the paperwork for the IRS using my textbooks, stuck it in the mail. 38 days later, I got my letter of determination. So our official date of incorporation and 501c3 status is May 17th, 2011. It all happened really fast. So in that first year, we were working with agencies in Santa Clara and Santa Cruz. By the end of that next year, we went from working with agencies in 2 counties to working with agencies in 12 counties. Wow. And I'm going to go quickly here. After that, I started graduate school. I have my master's in nonprofit administration. I had to learn how to run this thing that had taken over my life, and my living room and my dining room and my garage and every part of my world. And so I went to University of San Francisco and got my master's. So in that next year, we only added 1 more county. And the following year, we went from 13 counties to 20. And the year after that, we went from 20 to 25. Last year, we went from 25 to 29. Along the way, we went from that initial program we call the Resource Closet to increasing that to 6 programs that all address the need of sexual violence along the healing process. Last year, we gave away over 32,000 items. So, like, this is an item, this is an item. We gave away all these clothes throughout California. We provide resources throughout the entire Bay Area, some Northern California, definitely some Central and Southern California. Pretty much the most densely populated counties within California is where we work with, which equals about 70% of the total state population have access to Grateful Garment Project resources. The type of resources we provide are clothing, grooming items so people can clean up, food and water and drinks so that they can take medication when they're at the hospital so they don't end up with some sort of horrible STD and infections and stuff like that. We also, along the way, like I said, we added additional programs. For example, this program right here deals with a couple scenarios. The first scenario is, what if the sexual violence or the sexual assault is taking place at home and home is not safe? Or what if they don't have a home? What if they're trafficked or homeless or something like that? Many times people like that are heading to a safe house or a shelter. And they're gonna need more than one outfit to get them home because they're not going home. So that program addresses the need of being able to provide multiple sets of resources to people. And also providing resources to the safe houses and the shelters so that while they're there, they have things like blankets on their bed, or sheets or towels, or implements to cook with, that type of stuff. We provide a lot of resources for that agency. Then along the way, I got a knock on the door one day from an SVU lieutenant who introduced himself to me and said, "We need your help. We have this scenario where we go in to do rescues. We rescue people from human sexual trafficking, from sex slavery, right? And many times when we're going in and we're doing these raids and we're going to rescue people, these people that are being held hostage are often held naked or almost naked, right? It's a way to keep them from escaping, a way to control them. Yeah, and so it's really uncomfortable not only for the person being rescued, but for the law enforcement officer who's trying to rescue them to deal with somebody that isn't, scantily dressed, right? So what they asked is if we could start providing them clothes that they could take in on this situation. And so we started a program called Pack It Forward, where we take a backpack and we fill it with about 33 different items, clothing, food and water, which is also another form of control withholding that, grooming items, things to facilitate comfort like a blanket or travel pillows, just a whole myriad of things. And law enforcement contacts us 24 to 48 hours in advance of them doing one of these raids, and we turn around and quickly put together backpacks based on their requests and deliver it to them so that they can have the resources they need going into that situation. Anytime we have any major event that happens here locally in the Bay Area, unfortunately, a lot of the underside of society also shows up. We have the good things, the hotels, the restaurants, that stuff, but the underside, drugs and trafficking and those kind of things happen too. So for example, the Super Bowl, when we did the Super Bowl happen, for the 10 days leading up to the Super Bowl, we created and disseminated 288 of those backpacks to law enforcement and the FBI. They completely cleared us out. And just a couple weeks ago, I provided another set of 20 backpacks locally. So it's a constant struggle. See, according to the FBI, 3 of the top 10 human trafficking locations in the US exist in California. San Francisco Bay Area, like being up there toward the very top, right? It's really a problem. So we work a lot with our law enforcement to try to return dignity to those that have had it stolen through trafficking and to support their efforts, right? I'm gonna skip this one. I'll tell you guys about this one last. Let's go on to this one. Dress for dignity is where if somebody's gone through the process of rape kit, they've reported it, they've done the whole thing, and they're finally gonna have their day in court. They're gonna seek justice for the harm that's been done against them. And let's be honest, out of every 100 people that are sexually assaulted, only about 6 of them will ever get their day in court. Okay? And of the 6 of them that get their day in court, only 2 of them will receive justice for what's done to them. The numbers are staggering. With the laws changing, I'm very hopeful that will too change. Okay? But if you're gonna have your day in court, so many people, as you know, your credibility is directly related to how you present in court, right? If you show up in court in jeans and a t-shirt, you're not going to be nearly as credible, right? Or in sweats. We provide a lot of sweats to the clothing closets, but it's not court appropriate. And that perpetrator, that person that you probably have not seen since the attack, so it's the first time you're going to be confronted with them, it's probably got a nice new suit that's been provided by their defense. So it's really important for people to not only have confidence in court, but to have credibility. So we provide gift cards, $50, Kohl's, Target, different things, to help them acquire court-appropriate clothing and to have confidence going into what is typically a very stressful situation. Beautification projects is just like it sounds. We go into some of these safe houses and shelters that need a little help and get some new furniture or do some painting, put in new carpets, different things. Because these are places where people are going to heal, right? And we want the environment to be conducive to healing and not feel icky and grungy. Our final program, the one I put off, is this youth incentive program. And what that is our latest program where, see, in California, once you're 12 years old, you're legally in charge of your body. You're in charge of your reproductive health. You're in charge of your capacity to undergo a rape kit. If you're 12 years old, you can go through a rape kit and they cannot tell your parents. Law enforcement and the hospital and any of the people doing the exam. So what ends up happening is you have a 14-year-old that's sexually assaulted and they go have a rape kit done and don't want their parents to know because they're afraid they're going to get in trouble. And so what happens is that many times they don't come back for any follow-up appointments. They don't come back for a second round of STD testing. They don't come back for a follow-up medical appointment. And they don't come back for counseling. And see, sexual violence in kids is already a real problem. According to the Santa Clara County Sheriff's Department, the median age of a minor victim of sexual assault in the state of California is 9 years old. It's not what people think of some woman scantily dressed, drinking, doing drugs, because 9-year-olds aren't doing those things, right? Most people that are sexually assaulted are in the age range of students, right? You know, children to like college students. That's what's most common. And so we want those young people to come back. So we've started incentivizing their return by providing $5 gift cards every time they come back. And it's been really effective. And those unaccompanied minors used to be only about 30% came back. Now about 89% come back. Okay? And they come back not because they see that counseling is important, but they come back because they want the gift card. Okay? And I don't care if they come back for the gift card or not, because untreated sexual violence for children is staggering. Children that are sexually assaulted are 7 times less likely to graduate from high school. They're 3 times more likely to be a victim of violence later in life, domestic violence, that type of stuff. And they're also potentially a victim of another round of sexual assault. And so people always want to think, you know, sexual violence happens somewhere else. It doesn't happen where I live, right? But in San Mateo in the last 6 months of 2014, and know that statistics run years behind, but in the last 6 months of 2014, 201 rape kits were done on children. 72 of them were done on children between the age of 0 and 6 years old. And that's here locally. In Santa Clara County in 2014, 366 senior citizens sought sexual assault service providers, services in 2014. It's not. Sexual violence does not look like what we think it looks like. It has a very different...
The rape kits, they're done at the hospital, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. In San Mateo County, they're done at the San Mateo General Hospital. So we work with agencies, over 70 agencies in 29 counties, here locally where you guys live, and all over the Bay Area and many places in California, providing these services and these resources so that these people can have dignity and so that they can heal from this really horrible thing they've experienced. I'm getting the panel back there, so let me continue on. 1 minute. So our hope for a future. It's my vision and my hope that anywhere in this great state that we live in, that there is a need for resources, we want to be able to answer it. Not only locally, but in all corners of the state. If you think about it, California's economy is greater than many nations, okay? And the idea that somebody today in California will go home in a hospital gown, I find completely unacceptable. And I hope that you join me in that thought. There's not a week or a month that doesn't go by that I don't get inquiries, not only in other places in California, we have a waiting list, but also all across the United States and even the world. This is not just a problem here in California, it's a problem everywhere. These talk about the intended outcome, but I think I talked about that somewhat. What can we do? There's many things ways people can help. You can donate. We definitely need resources. We never have enough. You could volunteer. We're primarily a volunteer-run organization. I'm the only full-time employee. We have 3 part-time people, and the rest of the mission is carried out by volunteers. Donate clothes. You can host a gathering for garment party. You can do pro bono work. The reality is you could turn around anywhere in Grateful Garment Project and toss a stone and find another place we need help. We're a small organization that has a huge impact. I talked about last year we gave away 32,000 items, right? We did that on a budget of $314,000. We have a very small organization. Our budget for this year is $406,000. And the task that we're taking on is a huge hurdle.
How many kits is that? How many service?
We don't make kits because you're not always the same size on the top and the bottom, and you may not need all stuff. So we create clothing closets, and people that go through this process can take it and choose what they want. And they don't even have to give up all their clothes. Nobody forces them to give up their clothes. They ask them to surrender their clothes.
How many clients did you serve a year?
Over 9,000. Yes.
So how do you handle the logistics? It sounds like it's a tremendous burden. Let's just say there's a need right now in Fresno County.
Sure.
My God, you're the only full-time employee. You must put a million miles on your car a year.
Well, what we do is we go to the facilities where they do these exams, and we establish a clothing closet there.
Okay.
Many times it's actually a closet. Many times it's just like an office supply cabinet, or just some little closets and little cabinets in a room. Sometimes there's not even space for a closet, and they just keep duffel bags in their trunks, right? And as people go through this exam process, they use the clothes. And then as they start to use them up, they can go online and order through our website more resources. And then we box them up and send them to them UPS. If they're 50-mile radius, we can deliver them. But otherwise, we just ship them UPS.
Yeah. So you have like one center per county?
No, we couldn't afford that. That would be too costly.
Oh.
Everything is based out of San Jose.
Okay.
We have one office that is a warehouse, operations programs, everything. It's all right.
My corrected question is there's one rape center per county, I guess.
Well, California mandates that every county have a SART facility, or they contract with one, but a lot of counties can't afford to have one. For example, remember I talked about Santa Cruz County asked for our help? Recently, 2 months ago, Santa Cruz County had to close down their facilities because they didn't have enough funding or nurses to man it. And so, because they couldn't afford to pay anybody any real money. So now if you're sexually assaulted in Watsonville or Santa Cruz or Aptos, they bring you to Santa Clara County to do rape kits. Same thing in San Benito County. They don't have the money for that. So if you're sexually assaulted in King City, they take you to Gilroy to get a rape kit done. The problem with that is that people are going to be less likely to go have one when they travel the distance. And what we know about sexual predators is it's not a one-off thing. They will do it again and again and again until they're caught and stopped.
Okay.
But did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sure there's other questions.
Yeah.
I'll stay afterwards if you have questions.
Thank you, and that's what I was gonna ask.
But please, please, please talk about what we're doing. Tell people. If there's other organizations you belong to, invite us to come speak. Because this is the choice. People can go home in the hospital gown or they can go home in new clothes.
Thank you so much. Wow. I tell you, every